Alright, geotrig, this is logs day 5. So today what we're going to do is do the reverse of what we did in video 4. And in video 4, what we wanted to do was we wanted to take something that was together and we wanted to then make it separate. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take things that are in their own logs already. They're separated. So those answers that you did through 1 through 20 in the packet, we're going to reverse that order and we're going to then put them together in a single log. Now, I kind of alluded to this idea last time about a bus or going on a trip. I think it's a little bit more important here that we talk about this, and we talk about the fact that when we're talking about logs and condensing and expanding, I like to bring this idea that everything's going to go on a double-decker bus. If we're going on a trip, okay, say we're going to go on a sightseeing tour, so you guys pack up your own like food bag with some chips and all of those things, everybody individually has to pack their own stuff. And of course, when you get there and we're ready to board this bus, I'm not going to carry your stuff. You're not going to carry someone else's stuff. You're going to carry your stuff. So some of us will show up and we'll have nothing to carry. Others, we're going to have lots of stuff to carry. And so, remember what we talked about yesterday, that these rules here, this is rule number 1, and then rule number 2, and rule number 3. I said that you had to apply last time rules 1 and 2 first before we apply the rule of the fact that if you're carrying something, then you set it down. So that was getting off the bus. So once you get off the bus, you got to everybody take their stuff off and then they can set it down. We're in condensing, we're going to go in the opposite direction. This time, to get on the bus, if you have something, you need to pick it up. So rule number 1 says that if there is something in front of your log, basically your stuff, you need to pick it up. So if I have something like 1/2 log base 4 of 5, I need to pick up that 1/2. And so the 1/2 becomes an exponent on 5. So this becomes log base 4 of 5 to the 1/2 power. That is how you apply the rule number 3 first. So every time you see things out front of a log, you can. And it can go both ways then. So obviously now that he's got it up here as up on his shoulder or whatever, I can drop it in front like the original problem. It can be interchanged. So be very careful on that. Now, there are a few things that we'll talk about as we start putting these together of where do you want to keep it. Okay, so that's rule number 1 in reverse. Pick up your stuff. So now we can go back and we'll talk about the first rule from before. Now, what we're going to say is, hey, if I have 2 logs that are added that happen to be of the same base, therefore I can combine them through multiplication. So, log base 2 of x plus log base 2 of 3. These two can now be added together, and to add them together, I'm going to take the x and the 3 and multiply them. So this becomes log base 2 of 3x. Notice I put the 3 first. 3 is a constant, so therefore it becomes 3x. This is condensing. I'm making it smaller. I'm making it a single log. And if I go here, now we're going to go reverse. If you see subtraction between them, that means you're going to divide. So log base 2 of x minus log base 2 of 3. So if I see this, now this is where I think the double-decker bus kind of comes into play, because we have options. We have a couple options here. If I'm going to use the analogy of the double-decker bus, I'm hoping that you would see that the x log here, the log base 2 of x, is a positive 1 in front. That's a positive 1, and we don't actually say 1, but it's a positive 1. Here, it's a minus a log base 2 of 3. There's really a minus 1 here. And so technically, if I want to apply this rule of the power rule, there would be a 1 here and a 1 there. We would then bring up the 1, bring up the negative 1. I am not going to do that. I think that's kind of ridiculous. We don't want to talk about things that we don't want to extra do. So instead, I think of this is a positive log, this is a negative log. Guess what? There's a rule on my bus. The positive people, they get to go to the top. The negative people, they go to the bottom. And so this would become log base 2 of x. He's positive, he goes to the top. Minus, so he's negative, goes to the bottom of the bus. And hence, actually, if you look back up to our formula here, because of that minus sign, it is m divided by n inside, and that is x divided by 3 inside. So these are the 3 rules. So why do I keep on talking about this double-decker bus? And there's a couple different ways. Well, the other way is the fact that I could think about this exact same problem as log base 2 of x plus a negative 1 log base 2 of 3. And if I see it like this, then I have to take care of that negative 1. And so it becomes log base 2 of x plus log base 2 of 3 to the negative 1 power. And now you're thinking, wait, but I kind of like that because now they're multiplying, and if they're adding, then I'm multiplying inside. And you're absolutely correct. So this would be log base 2 of 3 to the negative 1 times x. That's a multiplication symbol. Now, fine, we're happy about that, but here's the problem. You have something with a negative exponent, and you guys already know we don't like negative exponents. So, where do negative exponents take you? They take you to the denominator or to the basement. So you end up with log base 2 of x over 3, and that is exactly what we wrote over there. So, to me, if there's a minus sign in the front, it goes to the basement. If there's a positive sign in the front, you go to the top. So, let's take a look at a little bit tougher example. And so, this is our harder problem, the last one. Negative 3 log base 2 of x plus 2 log base 2 of y minus 1/2 log base 2 of z. So I want you to condense this down to a single log. Okay, now there's a couple options here like I've said before. 2 of these have negatives in front. The first one and the last one. I would highly suggest that you leave negatives out front, but you do have to take care of the 3 and you do have to take care of the 1/2. We'll bring those up. Don't forget that there's also a 2 in front of the first one. When condensing, everybody has to pick up their stuff first. Now, the reason I'm telling you to leave the negative up front is that way I don't have to deal with negative exponents. Negative ones will go to the bottom, positive ones will go to the top. So I still end up with log base 2 of x to the 3rd power plus log base 2 of y squared. And then I will continue to leave the negative down, but bring the 1/2 up. So log base 2 of z to the 1/2. And by doing that, I now have everybody picking up their stuff. But I also recognize that 2 of these are negatives, and those 2 both go to the basement. They will be multiplied in the bottom of that double-decker bus. So the common log is log base 2. X to the 3rd is on, y squared is on top. And x cubed goes to the bottom, and z to the 1/2 goes to the bottom. All of that is in one condensed log. Now, granted, we don't necessarily like to have fractional exponents, so to properly state that, z to the 1/2 power is really like the square root of z. And then therefore, you have condensed everything you need to do. Your homework, guys, is going back to that log packet 21 through 40, and have a great day.